Welcome, and here is a little intro, and we get going in just a short while. Watch our show, Dil Se Expertise. Plan a good holiday. Founders of LCM, Let's Talk Money. Specific life goals. And we have guests on our show who are experts in the field. There's a lot more. Yay! And welcome again to our show, Dil Se Expertise. And I'm so happy we could see so many people. If we haven't met, my name is Bhuvna Shriram. I'm a certified financial planner, a wealth manager, teacher, blogger, mom, founder and CEO of Plan to Prosper. And at Plan to Prosper, we help successful and busy corporate working professionals grow their wealth and generate enough passive income and build the best life for them with the money they have. Right. So in Dil Se Expertise, we've been doing this show since the time lockdown started. Aparna, just to tell you, this is our 10th show. So welcome for our 10th milestone show. We've had guests from various backgrounds. Amit ji was here to talk about equity markets. We had a session on loans, on insurances, on will writing, on derivatives, on entrepreneurship, on cryptocurrencies, on how to find jobs as consultants if you lose your job during COVID. So a lot of them have been largely around this theme of addressing questions that most of us have topmost during times like now, helping people like you and I transverse this uncertain time. So that's been our objective. We've had a great response. We've always had very good audience asking very intelligent questions. So we're looking forward to a great session. Aparna, just to let everybody know here, so all these sessions are available on all our social media handles. These videos are available, so please go watch them, subscribe to them, share them, and share this knowledge. Right, so introduction about Aparna. Aparna is the founder director of Rectify Credit, India's first credit advocacy, credit counseling company. And she's, I have a little introduction written about her. I'm going to read out of it. So Aparna is the founder director of India's first credit advocacy, credit advisory and credit counseling company. That's how we've got to say it. Rectify Credit is the name of her company. She's an MA in economics. She also holds a PG in banking and finance and also a certified financial planner. She has been the founder of fintech and training companies. She blogs. She's a columnist with Mint, Outlook Money, Femina, Money Life. She champions the cause of women knowing finance. She sees debt with an emotional humanitarian perspective. That's very interesting. You know, for us, debt is something we usually avoid, we're scared of. And for financial planners, largely we look at it as numbers, interest, something that you should avoid. But it's interesting to see how Aparna sees it as emotional humanitarian. I want to know more about it here. Aparna also teaches at various B schools in Mumbai. She's authored a book titled "Why Is My Credit Score Screwed Up?" Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of outline of that book here, which is amongst the bestsellers in the personal finance section. She's published 2 more books. Also, she's an ultra marathoner. She's run 100 miles from Pune to Mumbai with a group of women runners. She's a cyclist who cycled from Goa to Mumbai and has dreams of cycling from Kanyakumari to Kashmir to educate women on finance and to understand debt and not to fear it. Okay, so I mean, I need that right now. Aparna is widely traveled and she can understand and speak 12 languages and she can write in 5. It's called polyglot, right? So I'm very happy to have you here, Aparna. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to share knowledge. I'm sure a lot of people have very interesting questions to ask. So just give us a little bit of a journey. Take us through what brought you to do something on credit space. I mean, I know wealth management, investments, all of that is interesting, but why loans, why credit, why is that close to you?
Thank you, Bhuvna. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And I'm very glad that I'm there on the 10th one. So it's like a decade now. So you start with the double digits with me. So it's a very interesting question. You know, people always see investments, people see, wealth management or that kind, but people don't want to see the debt side of the story. So that always caught my interest because there are a lot of people who take loans when it is not needed.
Okay.
and they pay rates of interest which are obscene, which are obnoxious. But then it is just out of sometimes ignorance, sometimes sheer laziness, or they've been conned into it. And most of these debt products, if you see, the shelf life is pretty long. The tenure is long. I mean, the
Mm.
shortest is your personal loan, which is maybe a 5 to 7 years.
Mm.
Otherwise, your home loans and your loans against property, what we are talking about, 15 years, 25 years. So imagine the kind of interest you continue to pay to service that loan. So that caught my interest, and I was doing something similar in with Barclays in UK. I was in London.
Mm.
So when I came back for one of those NRI holidays and saw this whole CIBIL thing in the papers here, I said, this is my return ticket, because India is also now getting ready for this whole credit score, credit report, and
Yeah.
thing. So that's how this whole idea kind of uh, uh, germinated, and
Mm.
that's where we began. So we started in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So it's again interesting. It's a 10-year-old company now,
Yes.
and so we've been working with. We started working with individuals, and then we moved on to corporates. We focus on SMEs. We focus on large companies. Then we have a very strong analytic team. So we've also designed a lot of products. Reports that are based on credit reports. So those are getting digested by, say, like an HR, say a background verification company, say an NBFC, say a e-tailer who wants to decide whom to be lending. So we're doing a lot of other interesting stuff as well. So that's
Oh.
how the whole thing started.
Very interesting, because when most of our clients, they come to us saying, I already have this loan, I don't know what to do with it. They never ask us before taking a loan.
Yeah.
Okay. And then these loans are like really long-term things, right? They commit for 5 years, 10 years, and it really screws up their plan. And I
Yes.
wish there was a little more knowledge about it. So
Yes.
this is very interesting. To tell me more about credit score, and why is it important? What are instances you've seen that a credit score has been a make or break?
Uh, See, we started this whole credit score, credit report, and all of that thanks to the SICRA Act in India in 2004.
Okay.
And then when we started in 2010, Rectify Credit, none of the bureaus were having any credit scores. We were just getting reports. Those were hard copies. So you would apply today, and then you had to send demand drafts, and then they would send you a report 7 days later, 10 days later. From there we have moved to a scenario where the turnaround time is now less than 60 seconds
Yeah.
online. So the
And most
bureaus have
reports you wouldn't understand. We were in Greek and Latin, right?
exactly. So that is where we've moved. So a credit score today is, see, it is actually not a credit score that is seen. It is the credit profile. But for want of making it understand, I mean, let everybody understand, people usually talk about a credit score. What is a great, good credit score, bad credit score, no credit score. But the thing is, what is important to know is, it is the credit profile. So the lender, that whoever is looking at your credit profile, he is looking at your credit profile. So basically, what is a credit profile is your next question. So credit profile is basically giving a background as to, till date, how have you been with your debts. So have
Okay.
you been a good borrower? Have you been a bad borrower? Have you been someone who's paid on time? Have you been not paying on time? Have you taken too many loans? Have you taken only unsecured loans? Or have you taken loans, paid them back? But there are cases where loans are just hanging, they are not closed. So there are all kinds of scenarios, and these are things that are seen in a credit profile. So now, to tell you stories where where a credit report has made or you know uh, broken a scenario, there are these days, if you see, a lot of these asset management companies, banks, BFSI space largely, people are looking at their potential employees credit scores, because they say that we don't want people on the job wanting to advise somebody when their own credit profiles are messed up, right? So they are looking at people with good credit profiles. So in the month of March and April, we have a whole lot of people from the BFSI space sending us their credit reports, because also their appraisals are at stake. So companies usually give them 3 months time and say that sort your act together, otherwise your appraisal is not going to happen.
Yes.
So there are enough instances where, so a bad credit profile, bad credit score has messed up chances of getting the job. The next phase is, if you know, largely most of our Indian IT companies are servicing BFSI companies abroad. So there it is again a compliance, so that you need to have a good credit profile if you want to be on that job. So a lot of these IT companies also come to us, employees come to us that, sort us out. So, I mean, this apart from the regular loan nahi mil raha hai, credit card reject ho gaya, home loan atak gaya, these are the usual ones, but these are the additional ones. So that is where it is.
Interesting. So your having a bad credit score could jeopardize career opportunities, travel abroad to opportunities, right? Jobs outside the country.
True.
No, but then see, having said all of that, today people are seeing job losses, right? There have been salary cuts. I mean, I've been talking to, I must have spoken to 25, 30 people in the last 10-15 days.
Right.
All of them, almost 75% of them said they've had a 20 to 50% salary cut, and some of them haven't received salaries in the last 3 months. Now, if somebody's got a credit card outstanding, I'm sure anybody would look at self-preservation, right? I need money, keep it aside to buy vegetables and groceries rather than pay my credit card. Now, in circumstances like this, is CIBIL a little more lenient? What is it like? Can my credit score get really screwed up if I skip?
See, I always tell my clients, I always say this in every forum that I get a chance to, that as a borrower, always communicate to your lender. Whatever the scenario, talk to your lender. Now, the scenarios that you gave where there's been a salary cut or no salary credited at all, or a job loss, we are all aware. Quite a few of those numbers are happening in and around us. So now, in a scenario like that, number one is RBI gave you that moratorium. So you had a chance to say, I'm not going to pay it now. I'm going to pay it later. Of course, the interest part you had to service. It was not completely zero. And then that 3 months got again extended by another 3 months. So we are talking about in reality, a 6-month moratorium. Now, if you ask me, if you are someone who's really in a bad soup, like there's absolutely no income, zero cash flow coming in, and there's everything that is going out, and if it is that bad a scenario, then go say yes to that moratorium, right? Because so take that moratorium, whatever minimum interest, service it, but at least you will conserve whatever you have, and you will survive this pandemic. And then we see what next after this 6-month window, how things pan out. Because today, currently, you and I don't know when this is going to end, how it is going to end, and I know how long the journey is. So this is what it is. Now, if you are someone who has, say, a 20% pay cut, or someone who has, maybe first month got the salary, second month got a pay cut, but third month got everything, whatever, if you're able to manage, then pay up, because unnecessarily you will pay interest to service that loan. That is where I'm coming from. Now, if you are someone who is, somewhere in between, you are not like 100% cash, inflow has stopped, and not that, you are getting 100%. In the middle there, if you are someone like that, traditionally, if you see, we Indians are good at saving. We've always been good savers compared to the other countries in the world. We always believe in saving, because that's something that has been ingrained to us as a culture. So my advice would be, and we've all done those investments, some bad mutual funds, some dabba, FD that we've taken, which is going nowhere. So this is the time to encash that, redeem that, pay up these, and move forward. right? So rather than get into a soup and then get into a compounded soup, this is what would be my advice. But having said that, to answer
Mm.
your fundamental question is, go back and talk to your lender that this is your scenario. You are currently, say, facing a job loss, or you're facing a salary cut, or your salary is not getting credited, but you know for a fact that it will get credited. It is not going to go away. Whatever the scenario, put this in writing, take the approval, and then see how best you can salvage the situation. But always go talk. And when I say talk, don't do WhatsApp, don't do phone calls. Put this in an email, put this in a letter, so that tomorrow you have a documentary evidence to fall back on. Because today some customer care, you will speak and they will say ha ha ha, and next thing you know, you don't know who that person you spoke to, and then you have nothing to fall back on. And WhatsApp is not a approved evidence in the court of law. So I'm just telling the worst case scenario. But so don't do these. Put that in an email, get the approval in black and white, and then move forward.
Okay, so but you're saying even if I get it on email and approval and all that, they will report it to CIBIL, right?
See, today currently RBI has also said that in these 6 months they are not going to be reported as defaulters. If you are taking a moratorium, you are only servicing the interest part, you are not going to be reported as a defaulter. If you have not taken a moratorium and you don't pay, is a separate scenario. So currently, if you have taken that moratorium, and I mean, let's accept the lenders are also aware of what's going on. So they are also not going to take a stand where, it's my way or the highway. So today everybody is wanting to salvage the situation, resolve, and see how best they can solve the situation for you.
But then the moratorium is not available for credit card outstandings, right?
It is.
It is?
It is.
Even if I don't convert it into an EMI and all, it is
No.
available?
It's just a credit card due is also part of the moratorium. RBI is very clearly stated that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If I don't pay my credit card, minimum balance payment also will, but I should have communicated it to the
Yes.
company. I can't just not pay and then say,
No, even the moratorium, you had to apply and you had to get that approval. And banks chose to whom they wanted to give the approval. For example, banks like HDFC, SBI only chose the best of their customers. They didn't give this moratorium to their existing defaulters. And the second round, lot of PSU banks said that you show us proof that you are still having a job, that you are going to get your income, it is going to continue, you have filed your IT returns or at least a provisional balance sheet, basis which we will take a call on moratorium. So the moratorium was not a blanket approval for everybody. You had to apply and you had to get the approval.
Okay. So your suggestion is that go back and tell your lenders this is the situation, and then get some runway for yourself.
Yes.
Right? Don't just keep quiet and then bounce off the checks.
Exactly.
Okay. That's irresponsible behavior.
Right.
Okay. So help me understand this. People are generally talking about fixing their financial life now. They are getting their books in order. I mean, at least I am seeing a lot of inquiries coming for getting a financial plan done because they have time. They've understood the necessity importance for emergency planning or insurances, or suddenly it's dawned upon people that something also can happen, right? I mean, we've lived in that bubble ki sab kuch tik-tak chalega, right? So this is a time where a lot of reflection is happening. And how can someone exhibit good behavior with their borrowing? How can they build a good credit history over time? So
that's an excellent question. See, a lot of people, like you rightly said, somehow this has been a good time to take a break, retrospect, see where we are, recharge your batteries and move forward. That's how things are in every aspect. And thankfully, it is also happening in the financial space. The lot of people, if you take, say, 10 credit reports, there are at least 4 credit reports minimum where people have borrowed from, say, an NBFC or a cooperative bank with very high interest rates, when the same can be done by a PSU bank at a much lower interest rate. For example, you have people taking a home loan from a, say, a LIC housing or a Bajaj, kind of a thing. I'd say 15%, 14%, when SBI was giving loans at 9%. Today they have come down further, right? So this is a good time where you can relook at your existing loans and see which are the loans that you can maybe pre-close.
Okay.
There may be some personal loan, some small auto loan, some gold loan, something that you have taken which has been going on, and say, for example, only next 6 installments EMIs are pending, or 3 EMIs are pending, or only one. So see if you can pre-close it and close that loan properly so that your cash flows to that effect are conserved. The second thing that I always tell people is, today, say for example, no bank is taking new borrower. They are all looking at existing borrowers. So even if, say for example, you were a Kotak borrower and today SBI is, say, giving you a home loan at, say, 7.6%, if it is less than a crore, you can't shift if you've never been an SBI customer, because SBI is saying that I can't take a new borrower. They would rather deal with the known borrower. So then what happens is, even in these scenarios, see if you can go back and talk and rework your existing EMIs. Maybe there's a certain percentage that you can pay up and try and reduce your EMIs. And like I've been writing in 2-3 places, this whole pandemic, a family of 4, for example, in a city like Bombay, we are saving on our petrol, diesel. We are saving on our eating out. We are saving on those random online shopping, because most of the deliveries are not happening. Lot of us are rethinking on while buying clothes or shoes, because we don't know when we are going to next wear them. So those impulsive buys have stopped. So if you see, on an average, at least 20 to 25,000 rupees per family we are saving. Okay. So a lot of those impulsive leakages that were happening as a family has come down. So if that can be used to repay your loans or foreclose your loans, so these are few things that you can do to improve your credit profile if you are a existing borrower. Now if you are someone who has never borrowed, who has never taken any cards, you don't have any loans, then this is a good time to approach your bank where you have an existing account, say a savings account, to say that I would like to now opt for a credit card.
Okay.
And a credit card, and you start spending and repaying that credit card. So slowly you will start building your credit profile. So both ways, this is a good thing.
Okay. So you're saying if you've never borrowed at all, you start with taking a credit card and then repaying it on time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you were talking about pre-closing a loan, right? So if I just have 3 months or 4 months to go to finish that loan, does pre-closing a loan improve my credit score in any way? Is there any?
It does, because by that to that extent, your leverage, how much you have leveraged, comes down, right? So your borrowings, if they come down, then it does impact your credit profile overall. So say for example, you have an EMI where you are paying, say, 60,000 EMI, right? So if you go and pre-close that, so you are now again eligible to borrow, where your EMI can be somewhere again up to 60,000, because that much income you have a capacity to repay. So that's how the lenders work out the EMIs for you. So every time pre-closing or closing a loan has 2 effects. One is you show responsible behavior, that you have borrowed and you have gone and repaid and you closed the loan. That is point number 1. Point number 2, overall, you again open up your window where you are eligible for new loans.
Okay.
So a loan closure is always a good thing. And let me tell everybody here, when I say loan closure, don't just say my last check is done and that is it. You have to take that extra effort and ensure that your lender gives you a no objection certificate. NOC is what it is called. And then a month later, check online with your credit report whether this has been updated to the bureau, that this has been reported as a closed loan and there is no outstanding against you. So then the whole story is complete then. Because a lot of people, let me tell you, till very recently, they would take a credit card, if somebody gave them a credit card, they would just cut the credit card, throw it in the bin and say, I never used it, I don't need it, and that's the end of the story, right? As far as I'm concerned, I'm not using the card, so that's it. But 85% of the cards that are initially sold, I mean, what is initially offered to you has an annual fee. Unless you ask them, they never offer you a card which has no annual fee. So even if you cut and throw, that annual fee is going to accrue against you, right? So it is very important that you need to close that account, close that credit card, get an NOC, month and a half later, check online in your credit report whether this has been updated, and then close the chapter.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so this is great. So I'm just summarizing. You're saying if you have a loan with the surplus money that you have right now, try and pre-close a loan that's almost near closing. That will improve your credit score. But just don't stop with closing that loan thinking, you've done your job. It doesn't end there. Go back to the company and get an NOC and go back and check your credit score. Right? I think those are amazing suggestions. Aparna, we have a lot of questions coming by. Is the annual insurance premium covered under moratorium? Raghavendra is asking.
No. If IRDA hasn't come out and said, they only said you can delay if you had like an annual premium already. They said you could delay it and you could do part payments, but they were not part of the moratorium. Moratorium was very precisely for all the loans and credit card use, nothing else.
So insurance premium is something you don't want to miss, Raghavendra. So because you know how it is, COVID expenses are just too much. Last week we had a session on insurances. So put that on priority to pay your insurance premiums. Do not, this is not a time. That's not an want to.
I have a question. Normally 1 month grace period will be there. In that case, my manager told this month because of the COVID, you have 2 months grace period. Is that true, Aparna? Do you have any information?
See, that again depends on your company, your policy. 30-day grace is anyway there. There are companies that have given even that next grace to 45 days. So in effect, they have given you almost 1.5 to 2 months to repay, but they have not included your premiums in the moratorium. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Correct. In that
See,
case,
moratorium, let's understand, moratorium was what? Moratorium was against your repayables, the interest part, where it is a loan, they said don't pay the principal, you continue to only pay the interest, the large part we will take care after 3 months, 6 months, whatever, that 3 months they extended. But insurance is not that. So fundamentally insurance sensibly, I mean, it doesn't come under the moratorium preview. Having said that, most of the insurance companies, apart from that 30-day grace period, went back and said, we'll give you another 45 days, we'll give you 60 days. So it depends on the company that you have taken and the kind of policy that you have taken.
Another thing that I just want to clarify here, Raghavendra, if you were not there for the previous session, Manish, we had asked a similar question to Manish, who was there talking about insurances. He confirmed that although you can pay your premium, within the grace period and keep the policy alive, if there is a claim made during the grace period, the insurance company can refute, they can refuse to honor the claim, right? So during the grace period is only allowing you to keep the policy alive, but they are under no compulsion to honor your claim, or they can refute your claims if you make.
I was going to come to that because I remember reading 3 insurance companies and one of the aggregators writing about this, saying that, don't take this grace period if you don't need it, because if you are in that period and God forbid something were to happen, the
Yeah.
company has an option to refuse to, think. So
Yeah. They will refuse because given the current situation, I think COVID
Exactly.
expenses are going out of control and insurance companies are also under major stress. So they give you every
True.
reason to refute. So you don't want to
True.
give them any reason to refuse your claim. So please keep your insurance policies. It doesn't come under morat. Sorry, we're digressing from the topic. Prabhakar is asking if I have 4 credit cards and if I give up 2 of them, if I surrender 2 of them, will my credit score get any better?
See, it always will get better if now there are 2, 3 scenarios. You will have to give me more detail, Prabhakar, in the sense that if you are someone who is regularly using all the 4 credit cards, you spend on them, you repay them, you are actually doing yourself a big favor because your credit profile will really get very robust. Now, if for whatever reason now you realize that you don't need 4 cards, you are happy with 2 cards, so you want to surrender 2, well, fair enough, surrender those 2, but then maintain the other 2, which is one part. The other part is if these 2 cards that you are surrendering have had issues in the past and then you surrender, say for example you have certain amounts that are pending there, that are overdue there, or whatever, in that case the story is different. But if it is a good proper card that you have used and you don't want additional cards, you can surrender your cards, and that's good. Now, having come to this topic, let me tell you this. A credit card does wonders to your credit profile. It's like a drunken monkey in your wallet. Okay. So if you are able to control that monkey can really jump places. But if you are someone who will let the monkey control you, then both of you are going to get drowned. That's how, I mean, it crude way, but that's how it is. Now, a credit card builds your score. So take a credit card, use that card, pay the whole amount within the due date, and you are really good. There are people, I have clients who have say 6 to 8 credit cards, but they are very diligent in how they use those 8 credit cards. There's a guy that I know who has one card where he uses only to pay his insurance premiums for himself and his family. There's one card that he takes his annual holiday on. There's one where it is there for his petrol because that card is tied up with Hindustan Petroleum, so he gets reward points there. And there's one that his wife uses for the grocery because Food Bazaar is, so I'm just giving you examples. So, and then they, as a family, they are very good at redeeming those reward points, buying those movie tickets free, buying those holidays free, air miles. I think last year, the whole family went to the US on a holiday based on their credit card points. So there are people who are very diligent with that. Now, if you are someone who's not as disciplined, you don't know which card, when due, what is happening, then you are good with 2 or 3 credit cards. But my advice always is at least have 2 cards. I'll tell you why. A one card is anyway mandatory. I mean, it is needed. There are sometimes certain websites or certain scenarios where a particular credit card is not accepted. Then you at least have a plan B, right? So always have 2 credit cards. Another thing, strangely in India, if you observe, the hospitals are very comfortable and happy to take a credit card for your bill payment. They will not take your debit card. So in such scenarios, a credit card is always handy. So don't take this moral high that, because there are people who come to me and say, oh, credit card is not part of our culture and I can never use a credit card. Don't get into that, because today you and I are fortunately or unfortunately living in a time where credit is fashionable. It is mandatory. It is needed. So gone are the days where everything you paid cash and then bought. So it is good to have a credit card. So if you are a good user of a credit card, my advice is have 2 credit cards.
Okay. How do you be a good user of a credit card? It's very interesting.
Simple. Simple. Use the credit card regularly. repay the whole amount before your due date. And that's about it. There's nothing else to it. But the only thing is, if if there are months where you are not able to pay the entire amount, and say for example your EMI on that credit card you didn't get approved for whatever XYZ reason, try and pay more than the minimum amount. Just don't pay the minimum amount and leave it. Why? Because suppose 100 rupees was due, minimum was 8 rupees. Now, if you only pay 8 rupees and leave, that month, the interest is going to get calculated on 92 rupees at 3.5 to 4% per month compounded. Now, if you, I understand that you don't have 900 rupees this month, but at least try and pay 45 rupees. So that the interest that is calculated is only on 55 rupees instead of 92 rupees.
Correct. Okay.
Right. So my advice, so there, see, we are all human beings. We all deal with, crisis. Sometimes things happen. So credit card due doesn't mean somebody has gone, to a drinking booze, a booze party, or gone to Las Vegas and blown all the money. There are genuine issues. It happens. So, there's no need to be, shy about it, but then accept that it has happened. Something is gone wrong. So these are things to salvage so that you are good with your credit card.
Okay. So that's your humanitarian approach to the whole borrowing part, right? Things happen, yeah, shit happens, right? Yeah. So Prince is asking, is it good to have multiple credit cards? I think Aparna answered it well, saying, yeah, you can have multiple credit cards if you know how to handle all of them. If you're a mess with just 2 cards, don't, right? That's your suggestion. And even if you pay only the minimum, the credit scores are intact, right? I mean, of course, interest will be charged, but
no, your credit also starts to get impacted, because that 92 rupees in the previous example I gave you will start getting reflected as overdue against you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So it's the best thing to do will be fully pay the credit card.
Always.
For credit score purpose, fully pay the credit card. For for interest purpose, fully pay the credit card.
Yes.
Right.
And for credit profile, both ways. Yeah.
Okay. So I have one question from a personal example. If I have a borrower living in the same house, let's say, for example, my husband's credit, he's borrowed from somewhere and hasn't paid, or he's got credit card outstanding, will that impact my credit score also?
No. See, it will only get impacted if you are a co-borrower. If you are not a co-borrower, then it has got nothing to do with you. Yeah. See, usually largely what I have seen is people don't have co-borrowers on credit cards. It's a personal thing that they take. Where they have a co-borrower is if home loan for sure, because the borrowing size, the ticket size is bigger. But or sometimes some auto loans where they, husband, wife, or 2 brothers or whatever, take that together. Otherwise, credit card largely is single. Of course, you can have a add-on. So now suppose I take a credit card and my son is 18, I give him he becomes an add-on card holder. But there again, I as a primary card holder can decide what is the limit that he can use it on. And I also can keep a tab on where he's spending that money, right? Okay. So that you know what is going on. So to answer your question, only if you are cohabiting and one is a defaulter, it doesn't automatically affect the other's credit profile. Never.
No. So in the example that you were giving, that your son is using the credit card, it's an add-on card. So you are the primary card holder. And if you don't pay the credit card bills, would it affect his credit score?
It will affect both of us, no? Because the same card is reported against me and him.
Okay.
So both the credit profiles get impacted.
Both your credit scores. Okay. Anurag Chaudhary has been raising his hand. Anurag, do you want to share your question on the chat box, or do you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yes. Hi, Aparna.
Hi.
Yes, Anurag,
first of all, it's really pleasure to meet you, and thanks a lot for a lot of information which you shared with us. And of course, I really appreciate your personal profile, which Bhuvana shared with us. So really appreciate that. Ma'am, I have a quick question that I have, like you said, like we are Indians and we don't generally, you know, we are not a credit card person. So similarly, I was never a credit card person, and I have never used that. So last year when I went to a mall and was planning to buy a television, they gave me a good offer if I buy it on EMIs rather than paying in cash. At that moment when I shared my details with them, they said, no, you have zero CIBIL because you have never used a loan facility or credit facility from anywhere. That actually surprised me, and when, like, at that moment only I was planning to buy a home loan. So I thought, it may hamper that proposal as well. So for that purpose, I bought a card from my existing bank and started some transaction. I was a little confused of one thing, to coming to the point. Uh, I have that credit card. Now, how does it affect if I transact 10,000 rupees a month and pay it on time, or if I spend 1 lakh rupees a month and pay it on time? Like, how it will impact on my credit rating or something?
Sure. Excellent, Anurag. Thank you very much. You've asked me one of my really best questions so far. Now I will answer step by step. Now, what is a credit report? A credit report is, like I said, how your profile as a borrower. So the new lender, now in Anurag's case, if he was to buy a TV, say for example, let's say a Bajaj Finance. So Bajaj Finance is taking a risk on Anurag that next 6 months he is going to pay that 50,000 rather than pay that 50,000 today. So if they have to decide whether Anurag is worth taking that risk or not, is when they need to check his credit profile, because they need to know what kind of a borrower Anurag has been, basis which they take a call on Anurag. Now here is Anurag who has never taken anything. Sorry. So they don't know how he is going to pan out. So this is a typical case, what we call in our industry thin file, which means his file is too thin. He has no history. So if thin file. So if somebody like Anurag were to tomorrow go and say, I need a personal loan or I need a auto loan, he would get rejected, even if he had the best of savings, best of income, best of IT files, everything, only because he's not had a history in the past. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So typically, I always advise people, when you start your new job, your first salary account, if the bank is offering you a credit card the next month, just say yes. Take that credit card. Start using that credit card, because that's how you will start building your credit profile. You may not need any loans right away.
Yeah.
But you're building your case. 3 years down the line, you want to buy a car, you've built your file. So your car is going to get approved, right? So don't jump one morning and say, I want a car or I want a personal loan. However, it is not the banker has issues with you personally. He has nothing to do with you. But the system is such that the banker can't approve your loan because he doesn't know what kind of a borrower you are, right? So that's what has happened with Anurag. Now, the good thing he's done is he's taken that credit card before he's gone ahead for his home loan. So at least the profile is built, and that's how he will go ahead for his home loan. Now, to answer your question, suppose you have a credit limit of say 2 lakh and you spend a lakh of rupees every month, you repay that 1 lakh is good. If you spend 10,000 on that card, repay that 10,000, that's also good. Credit profile per se, this really, if you ask me honestly, doesn't add up much. Where it will add up is as a banker, when he sees you, he's going to look at you differently, because you are someone who's on a regular basis spending a lakh and repaying a lakh, which means you have that kind of a capacity. So they will start, hounding you for more loans, for more products, because they see that ability in you. But if you ask me from the credit profile perspective, it really, honestly, doesn't really make too much of a difference.
But the credit score, as you say, or this credit report is only a guide, right? Ultimately, it is up to the banker and the credit team to take that call. When in India, we still don't have a interest rate linked to the credit score and all that, do we?
It is slowly starting now. It is slowly starting now. And in fact, the other thing is happening. Till about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, even if you had a bad credit score, the banker could, what was known as in the banking industry, deviation. So he could take a deviation on your file and still give you the loan, saying that no, this is some credit card that jab ye, yeah, jawan tha, galti ho gaya, I understand, and I'm still going to give you that loan. But today the banker needs to really justify why he's taking that deviation. So nobody wants to stick their neck out. So that is also over now. So people are very clear as to why a credit report, what is the credit profile, and basis which the loans are getting approved.
Okay. It is very interesting. You're saying somebody wants to buy a car, buy a home, and they don't have a credit profile. I think that's still all right. 2-3 months you can delay that whole purchase. But when you need a personal loan for something that's critical, like somebody's in the hospital, they need to be treated, you need a personal loan, and you don't have a credit score, that's when it really hits you that you don't have a credit history.
Bang on. And especially when today most of the personal loans are also approved online. So it is instant, right? But if you don't have a credit profile, then there's nothing that, one can do after that.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you're saying the moment you get your first salary, like how we go out and say when you get your first salary, sign up for your EPF and then start doing your SIPs, take a credit card and start building your credit profile, right?
Yes.
It's very, very important. It's like two eyes, your investments and your credit profile, and they really come in handy. And I'm also guilty of having only one credit card and, sitting in that moral high ground of saying, no, credit cards are not for me. Yes, guilty as charged. Right?
But another thing is, see, even as a financial planner or someone who's, personally also wanting to look at your finances, today, like I said earlier, fortunately or unfortunately, none of us can think of buying any asset without the debt component. We have to borrow to buy an asset. So, you will very rarely see somebody going and doing a complete down payment on a car and saying, here is 5 lakhs and I want to buy the car. So when the debt component is involved in every asset that we buy, then it becomes that much more crucial, critical, and pertinent that you build your credit profile. And what I'm saying is, it takes about 20 minutes, but then spend that 20 minutes, see where, your credit card bill is there, where you are spending on your credit card, what are your, largely sectors or areas where you're spending. Can you relook at, see, I am not taking a moral high saying that, oh my God, you have huge credit card bills. I'm not saying that. If your lifestyle is such today, now, for example, I can't go tell a Shah Rukh Khan that how can you have a 3 lakh credit card bill or a 30 lakh credit card bill? That's his lifestyle, right? Now, but if he's able to service that 30 lakh credit card, then I am nobody to give him that moral gap. So I'm not coming from there. But what I'm saying is, if you and I can see our credit card bills, see where, there are sometimes unnecessarily spending. Sometimes there are charges that are levied which we are not liable to pay. Sometimes we've not spent, but the credit card has, already charged us for that. Sometimes you've disputed a particular, that's another thing that I would like to tell your viewers. If you have a credit card dispute,
okay,
pay that first and then continue to fight. If you don't pay, you may be right. I'm not saying you are wrong. You may be right. But if they take next 60 days to resolve that, they will continue to charge you for that 60 days. And when they refund you, they will only refund you the amount that you had been wrongly charged. They will not refund you the interest that they have levied, the GST on that, and the service charge and the pen, those late payment fee. Falana Dhimkana, you don't get the refund. Okay. So you will only get the refund for the money that you were wrongly charged. So credit card dispute, आंख बंद करके, whatever it is, पहला pay first and then fight. And when you have already paid and you continue to fight, you also have a moral high to fight with them.
And
Right?
will they repay with interest?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They never pay. They never pay. So when they repay you, they will only, and most of them will only pay you what you were wrongly charged. I think I'm one of those few where I go back and fight and get my GST and my service, all of those also back. But please do that. That's your right. You need not pay them anything in excess of what you really owe.
Yeah. But I mean, for most of us, we don't even look into our credit card bills to know we are wrong.
Exactly. No, like I always tell people, your finance and your fitness, you really can't outsource.
You can't
Outsource. It is, you have to do that for yourself. You can seek advice, you can get trained, but then you can't outsource it. So it takes 15 minutes, but just see, even your advisor, like I for one, I may be telling you, oh, go take that loan from SBI. For all you know, that may not be the good loan for you. Or you have a salary account with Kotak where it is saying that for salary account holders, there's a further 10 basis points reduction. I'm just giving examples. So do that homework for yourself and then sign up. Don't just blindly go, say yes to whoever is saying whatever. So interestingly, just yesterday I was reading an article. People say that when it comes to financial products, people always go commit to the products basis what their friends or their relatives tell them.
So true.
So if you have very intelligent financial guys as your friends, then the chances of you doing smart investments is higher. But if you are other way around, then you getting doomed is that much higher. So do that homework. I'm not saying don't go to a advisor or don't go to a planner, do it yourself. See, we need not do everything. We need not be champions everywhere. There are other people who know it better. Good. But then don't go blindly say yes to whoever is telling whatever.
Absolutely. I think that's very true. So when clients come and tell us also, I'm just listening to your advice, boss, no. So please understand it for yourself and do it for yourself. It's ultimately your wealth, your family, right?
Absolutely.
Asking if we sign as guarantor for someone, how does that affect our credit profile?
If you have the chance to say no, please say no. Don't sign up as a guarantor. Because like I always tell people, we are living in times where there is no guarantee of our own selves. So where do we go become guarantors for somebody else, right? So don't become guarantors to anybody. But if you've signed up, then see, please understand, when does a lender need a guarantor? When he is not sure about the borrower. When he feels that he's taking a additional risk on this borrower, he tries to salvage and cover himself up by saying, get a guarantor. Otherwise, in a normal loan, now for example, a home loan that a husband and wife is taking, there is no guarantor that is asked there, because the bank is sure that between the two of them, they are going to manage and pay the EMI and be done with it. So the minute somebody is asking for a guarantor, your antennas need to be up that something is not right here. Okay. Number one, this is the base. The second is, if you really know the person and you for a fact you know that during that entire next 7-year tenure of the loan, that person is going to be in touch with you, you are going to be able to hold him by his collar and pull him up, only then sign up. Otherwise, don't. I have had horror stories where, people working in call centers or offices say, अरे वो तो मेरे बाजू में बैठती थी, मेरे को मालूम था, इसके लिए उसको personal loan चाहिए था, I signed up, and the next month the call center shuts or the person is quit the job and gone. And these days, if they change the SIM card, that's the end of the story. You can't contact them at all. And then what happens? They start defaulting because they are in a soup. So the bank will start hounding you, because what is a guarantor? It is I guaranteeing that Bhuvana is going to repay. So if Bhuvana doesn't repay, then the bank knows that Aparna is going to come and repay, right? So if Bhuvana becomes incommunicado, the bank is going to come and hound me. And the worst part is, I am reported as a guarantor in the credit bureau. So my credit profile also gets messed up and I can't get any new loans because I am seen as a defaulter. So for
Yeah.
no mistake of yours, and you think that you are doing a great service to another human being, you have dug your own grave. So
Yes.
please don't sign up as a guarantor. Don't.
Don't. So it's a very interesting thing that you're saying. So I remember an incident from 2004, I think, and I was working for Sundaram Finance, and we were in lending, right, and in Chennai, and one of the top actors of that of Tamil film industry, and his wife was running a few industries, businesses, schools, and all of that stuff, and she wanted to borrow money, okay, and she didn't have a great history, but I mean, it was a large sum of money, and so when we went to her house, to their house, to see and get the papers and all, and the credit manager was very clear saying, if sir guarantees, then we will, if he guarantees, then we will give you the loan. And sir refused. Okay. Sir refused to sign and we refused to give the loan. So between a husband and wife, the man refuses to sign up for his wife.
Yeah.
Right. So you, for your friends, you don't necessarily have to,
Yeah.
by the way, they're still married. So I think it's, it's not, so I mean, you say no. If you don't want to do it, just say no. So I think that's a sensible suggestion, to give. So, I mean, Prince is
And
putting
if
it.
there is somebody in the audience now who's already a guarantor,
Yeah.
now is a chance to go talk to that original borrower and say that, for whatever reasons, I do not wish to continue to be your guarantor. Can you replace me and get out of that? If the if the loan is live and the guy is repaying on time, he has an option where he can change the guarantors.
Oh,
Where
only
the
the borrower can do it.
Yes, only the borrower can do it. But if the loan is either gone bad or there is already an outstanding and all of that, then the bank won't permit you to change as a guarantor because they are going to hold you.
Okay. But if the loan is live, can I go to the bank and say I don't want to be guarantor anymore?
You can't, because the borrower has to tell. See, you are just guaranteeing for the borrower. The bank has everything to do with the borrower. The relationship that the bank has agreed upon is for the borrower.
Okay.
You are just an alibi.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Prince had put up his hand. I think he wants to share something. Prince, do you want to unmute and share something, or should I read out the message that you put up on the chat box?
Yeah, actually, I want to ask about the limit of the
Prince, can you please type on the chat box?
I can't hear anything.
See, I have like 2 credit cards, and so is it like the more limit I have, the better it is? Is it like this way?
See,
Okay.
there is nothing like more limit or low limit or bad limit or whatever. See, a limit is set basis how you've been spending and how you've been repaying in the past. And that's how I mean, most of the credit card companies in the last 3 months during this lockdown have gone and actually reduced the credit card limits of their existing users because they don't want to take that risk, right? So the more the limit, it is better, because in case of an emergency, you have that much money there with you. But I have, flaunting a card with a 14 lakh credit limit, if I'm only spending 5,000 a month, it really doesn't add up. And it doesn't do anything really great, if you ask me honestly, to your credit profile. But like I told earlier, a banker will look at you differently because he sees you as someone that has a 14 lakh credit card limits, for example, which means he has that kind of an income, he has that kind of a spending pattern, because overnight nobody is going to give you a 14 lakh credit limit. So it gets built over a period. So that's how it is.
Excellent. I think these were amazing questions and to the point answers, Aparna. Do you want to just quickly give us little, I mean, of course, we'll buy the book and read it as well, but some important key takeaways from the book on what to do if my credit score is screwed up. What are the options?
See, the whole intention for me to write that book was to reach out to people and tell them that, don't be scared if you are in a mess. And you're not the only one, and you're not going to be the last one. Things happen. Okay, things happen. But then there are always ways to get out of it. Don't, there are people who go commit suicide because they have credit card dues. There are people who don't want to talk about it in the house, and then they run into huge debts, and then the family is caught unawares when the collection agent comes at the doorstep. So, there are a lot of, all of us have heard stories like that. So debt is something that we all need. That is something that we all can't do without. But if we are responsible, then it's a good thing. But there are circumstances in life, there are situations where you land up in a soup, then don't lose hope. Sorry. So the book has very systematic solutions as to what is it that you can do if you've landed in a soup. Say with your credit card, say with your loans, how to take loans properly. What should be your checklist? What is it that you should be reading before you sign up? What are your rights as a borrower? Even as a defaulter, you have rights, right? So how is it that you should be talking? Whom you should be talking to in case there is a mess? So all kinds of things. So it is more like a self-help guide kind of a thing that you can go back to and refer each time you know that you are somewhere there.
Great. I think that's very useful for a lot of people, save a lot of families and relationships and, lives there who get into trouble with debt. So, I mean, I think it's been brilliant, Aparna. It's time, 7:30. We hope we could talk to you for some more time, but we really respect, we look for more opportunities to keep talking to you or reading your blogs and knowing more about this whole credit thing. A couple of takeaways for me personally has been when you start your job, take your credit card, build your credit history. It's going to come in very, very useful as you go by, and don't live in this moral high ground. And you can even now do little small things to improve your credit score. So I think Prabhakar has one last question. After cutoff date every month we get credit card bill. We don't remember on that date what we purchased from which shop. Is it better idea to write down in a notebook every day? I think every credit card statement comes with a statement, right? It tells you what you purchased from where, right? What we purchased. So I don't know why you would need a note, Prabhakar. A detailed credit card statement should pretty much tell you where you bought what from, right? So I hope all questions, I want to ask about limit. Okay, so I think I'll just quickly go through. We've answered all the questions. Pragya says, great session. If we have not answered any questions, we've signed as guarantor. Great ideas. Holding of credit card has been answered. Very good, very good. Okay, I think we've answered almost everybody's questions. Aparna, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you coming in on the show. I'll just share your website ID for people to go on and check their credit score. So my request is all of you get a credit score done, your credit report generated from Rectify Credit. I got mine generated and it was an eye opener because the credit score that come and all, you can't make head or tail of it, but the credit reports that Rectify Credit gives such clarity on what's going right, what's going wrong, what you should do. It's also a little bit of financial advice that it gives. So it's beautiful for something as little as 150 rupees, right, Aparna?
Yes.
So can you just talk to us a little more about it?
Please share the email ID info@rectifycredit.com. So
Okay.
You guys can write to us there. So we can pull out the credit report for you with your permission and interpret that report for you. So and tell you that debt wise, where are you? What is it that you can do better? And what is it that you can relook at and kind of give you advice. And as Bhuvna said, interpret it in simple language so that you are able to understand your whole credit report, because the bureau pulled credit report, like she said, is for a lot of people Greek and Latin. So it is our job to make it simple for you, and that's what we are doing. So info at
periodically
rectifycredit.com is where you can write. Yeah.
Periodically look at your credit score, right? Your suggestion is once in 6 months, keep looking at your credit score.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Superb. So can you repeat? You should send it to info@rectifycredit.com. I have shared it in the chat box. So
Since what you need to be sending on info is just a mail that you are looking at credit report, my team will get back to you.
Yeah, asking for credit report and they'll get back to you. Please check your credit scores periodically. Credit score is very useful. It can come in as an emergency plan, and it can also help you build wealth, leverage, and become much more wealthy in life, right? So thank you so much, Aparna. I really appreciate you taking your time here and sharing tidbits of knowledge and wisdom. And thank you really so much. And please look out for these videos, recordings, and share it with friends, family who you think this will be useful to. And thank you everyone for being such a great audience. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bhuvana. Thanks. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And have a great weekend, all of you.
Yeah.
Stay safe, stay home. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.